Hi, love. Hello, and welcome to Co-Creative Healing Journey. My name is Greta. I'm a healer, and this is Energy Paradigm, where I bring through messages that Spirit wants to share with you about your journey of awakening. And this is awakening in a general sense out of darkness, whether it is at a spiritual level, soul level, at a personal level. It is about growth and evolution out of darkness and into more light in yourself, in your being, in your embodiment, in your experiences, in your creations, in your relationships. Really, they're all interconnected, right? They are all one and the same. So let's look at the messages that Spirit has for you. This is the Sacred Geometry Oracle cards by Lon. Ooh, I'm having some trouble here with words. This bodes well. Does bode well. Might be a throat chakra thing, but let's look and see what Spirit wants to share with us. So I'm going to cut the deck. Oh, thought I was cutting it in a different place and I didn't. So we've got, first and foremost, an overall energy of integration. Interesting. We've got empowerment. And finally, we have divine feminine. Okay. We've been talking a lot about divine masculine energy, so we seem to be going in the divine feminine direction. So first, we have got this card of integration. Just beautiful. And it says, the frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves, allowing what we perceive as positive and what we perceive as negative to harmonize in a balanced symphony of life. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And I was talking about it when I was doing the kind of intro, talking about the awakening within the self. So becoming more light in ourselves, becoming in a way where we're evolving, we're growing, but we're embodying more light, and then therefore that also becomes manifest in our external reality, in our relationships and engagements with other people. And integration is really talking about how that is one and the same thing. And what Spirit wants to talk to us about in this video is a form of more than a mindset. It's much more a perspective, because if you see here in integration, I believe this geometric shape actually has 9 planes that are interconnected, layered on top of one another. And it's like that. It's talking about us as multidimensional beings, and that we need to come into a space where we're understanding ourselves as multidimensional beings. We are living that, and we are moving in the world as multidimensional beings. So in a very simple way, when we're thinking about being multidimensional beings, it's what I was saying, spiritual, soul, and personal. We exist on all of those levels, all of those dimensions. And then, for example, the personal self, the personality is the ego, it is the psyche, it is our actions and our outcomes, but it's also our thoughts and our emotions. So all of that would be in the personality. And then there's stuff in the soul, different levels of the soul, the mind and the heart. And then we have the spiritual energy where there's our source being, and then there's what I call our genius. And so all of those levels are interconnected, interwoven, and they are all a part of us, and they all need a space and place within us. If we are not honoring our spiritual being, we suffer. We really, suffer. It hurts. It's painful. If we're not honoring our soul being, we also suffer. And at a personal level, it is the same. We can understand in a very basic way that people need to have personal growth and personal evolution, and to have personal satisfaction and fulfillment in order to have a wholesome and thriving life. And so Spirit is here bringing in the notion that it's the same at a soul level. You need to have soul fulfillment. You need to have spiritual fulfillment, because you're a multidimensional being. And awakening is very much the realization that, oh, there are spaces and pockets of darkness or lack or hurt and pain in this area of my life, in that area of my life. And it is going beyond the usual explanation as to why there are those pockets, why there is that lack, where it comes from, and really seeing it in a way where we recognize, oh, it's a soul wounding, or it's something lacking at the soul level, or it's a lack of fulfillment at a spiritual level, and therefore addressing it at those levels in a way that enables us to be much more fulfilled in general, right? So it would be, for example, something like depression, that it is often commonly thought of as a imbalance in the brain. And there are articles that come out every couple of years, and there was one a couple of months ago that came out that was a literature review where they reviewed decades worth of research that showed that depression is not caused by an imbalance, a chemical imbalance in the brain. And then there was a psychologist that said, well, yeah, all psychologists know that. We know that. It's more in the layman's space. It's what's generally believed, right? And in the same way, it's like, well, if it isn't a chemical imbalance, what is it? Well, science doesn't really know, and medical science doesn't really know, but there could be an answer if you look at it as at the level of the soul. And I would have to place it. I think it would be, do we find depression soul or spirit? Yeah, at the soul level. I think I would even say at the heart level. I have a diagnostic system, but it's not in my head right now. But it's about that. It's about like, oh, if this thing isn't understood in a materialistic sense, in the philosophical sense of the word materialism, where we believe that earthly dynamics and again an imbalance in the brain and chemical things and how physical material particles interact, that if we don't believe that that defines every single aspect of who we are and how our reality unfolds, then what else is there? And Spirit is saying when we open up that realm of what else is there, that's where we can find a lot of healing and a lot of creativity and a lot of potential to rebalance. And that certainly has been my individual path. And I think for a lot of people on an awakening path and in an awakening process, that's their experience, that there's a lot of answers, there's a lot of clarity that comes from taking a perspective where it's not everything. That's the point. Spirit is not saying everything. We don't start saying, oh, I'm not going to get sick because my vibration is too high, because then we leave behind the physical, the material, the body, right? That's not how it works. And so it's not about dumping one, it's like an overreaction. We go from everything is materialistic to everything is about energy, or again, in a philosophical sense, idealistic. It's not that. It's about integration. It's about learning how to make all of the pieces work. And in general, you can know that you're in a good integrated space when spirit, soul, personality, the body, all of it is integrated and all of it is well. When you can eat something that is good for your spirit, your soul, and your personality. When you can have a relationship that is good for your spirit, your soul, and your personality. Again, where all levels are honored as one in the same thing, in the same moment, in the same experience. It's possible. And Spirit is even saying that's the point of the awakening process. It is to come into a space of integration, of a wholeness. With that, we've got empowerment. And so, empowerment says, the frequency of empowerment supports our ability to show up fully. Okay, so this one is a little blurry. Part of the message. The frequency of empowerment shows up our ability to show up fully and completely, uniting us with others in the deep trust that we are all connected through Source. And so that's kind of part of the message. I know it's my camera skills, but what else is new, right? But it's about, there's something about blurry and empowerment. What Spirit is saying is that very often we think of getting empowered through a process of awakening in a way that's a little bit off, and the Spirit would like to bring us some correction and some clarity on that level. So that, for example, we become aware of energy and all of a sudden everything is energy, and we think that we're empowered in shutting this down or shutting that down and approaching everything from a perspective of energy, but that's not actually empowerment. That's disempowering, because then we're shutting down material aspect, physical aspects, even societal aspects. There are things in society that we need, and things in interactions and relationship with other people. But if it's just, oh, that's low vibration and this person's low vibration and this and this and that, which by the way, been there, done there. So I'm speaking from that space, right? That if we do that, we're actually going from one extreme to the other. We're not coming into balance, and especially we're not coming into empowerment. And Spirit wants to speak to that, because the thing about empowerment is that empowerment is an activated value. It's an activated state of the experience of power, or the being of power, meaning we're all powerful. Everybody on this planet is a powerful, creative being, again, because every single human is a spirit, a soul, and a personality. So everyone has power. However, power is really that process that we move through, especially at a personality level, where we move through a process where we activate the love energy within us and we live it out. So it's about choosing spirituality. It's about choosing the wisdom of the soul and uniting it in our earthly experience, and again at the level of our personality, right? So in our psychology and how we think and how we feel, but also in our ego, the strategies that we use to go about life and managing and engaging with life and having this interactive relationship to our reality, which is so key in the ego. The ego is so much this interactive, it's like a mechanism. I mean, the psyche would be also, right? But it's a part of us, let's put it that way. The ego is a part of us that is made to interact with the earthly realm, and again to bring through the strategies, make the actions, to learn also from action and from repetition and from what's going on, to get that feedback, because the spirit doesn't really feel, not like we do, the body feels, right? And so the ego inside the body feels, so there has to be some intelligence there that needs to relate to and again make decisions and choose and enact things on the basis of that level of experience. And so it's very important to have an empowered ego. It's very important to have an empowered psychology, so to have thoughts and emotions that are empowered, to have strategies and a way of situating in the world that is empowered. All of that is not given. It's something that is created. It's something that is crafted. It's something that comes through the engagement. So a lot of learning, a lot of failing, a lot of trying, a lot of succeeding. And, the operative word being a lot. And it's moment by moment. It's issue by issue. It's situation by situation. It's really our whole lives serving as this space in which we are intended to learn and to grow and to evolve and to become empowered. But empowerment doesn't come from shedding one part of the self, and that's often what ego does, right? It's like, this whole spiritual thing is kind of complicated. This soul thing, I don't get it. I don't understand this logic. There's this, strategies that have been tried and true. I did it this way and it worked, and I've been doing it this way my whole life, and really my parents did it this way and their parents, and so on and so forth, because that's also part of the ego, all of that inherited stuff, and again the inherited strategies and ways of going about life and reality, of managing reality. But there's a point in the spiritual journey where it just doesn't cut it anymore, and it doesn't work, and it's supposed to be that way. We're supposed to have that breakdown in our old functioning. And again, we're talking at the egoic level, but in the awakening process, it's at every single level. We have spiritual breakdown, we have soul breakdown, we have personal breakdown, and it is by managing that breakdown and moving through it that we can then evolve into what comes next. So with that, we have divine feminine, and let's see. Yep. The frequency of divine feminine supports our receptive, nurturing, and soft side, allowing it to express itself openly and helping us to connect to our intrinsic understanding of our connection to all of creation. Beautiful. Oh, it's such a lovely energy. And beautiful card also. Very, very beautiful. So the message that's coming through is something that I am a writer, actually. Complete and total segue, but I am a writer and I've written about this forthcoming. But there is a line that I remember. It talks about how a lot of the awakening process and this whole journey is something that happens to us. It's not something that we actively create, and this is also why the ego flails so much. Because what do I do? What do I do? The number of times on my journey where I've just been like, but what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And there's nothing to do. There's just to be, and there's to flow with it, and it's to allow, and there's to become, to grow, to evolve. And those things are really quite passive. Even if you're doing something and putting in active energy and time and focus into creating something, the experience that you have of that and how you are integrating that experience into your awareness and into who you are and evolving from it, that's passive. If you go into an experience, you're never going to decide consciously what you're going to learn from it. You can have an intention. I want to learn this and I want to learn that and I want to do it this way and that way. And you can move with those intentions, and you can ensure through focus that happens, that yes, you will learn this and yes, you will learn that, but then there are other things that you're going to learn that you never saw coming, that you never even imagined that you needed to learn, that they weren't important. And all of that is part of the divine feminine energy. It's part of this, how this process again happens to us. It happens almost in the background. We're doing all of this stuff in the foreground, and we're trying this and we're striving here, we're succeeding, we're failing, we're going left, we're going right. All this stuff is happening. And then in the background, there's this, the process that is shaping and molding us. And then when we're ready, there's the integration, and we come into greater awareness of some growth and evolution that we have realized. And Spirit is saying that even that moment when we come into the awareness of what we've integrated, that is awakening. That can be thought of as one way of awakening. And it's really kind of by leaps and bounds. We're not awakening every single moment of every single day, that there is a process that we cannot control, that exists beyond our control. And so much of it is to come into a space, especially again at an egoic level, where we are surrendering to that and we are even embracing it. There comes a time when we move far enough into the divine feminine energy where we just are in awe, right? Of this, oh, this is so beautiful. This feels so amazing to be at home in this energy. Then all of a sudden, it's not hard, it's not difficult, it's not painful, but it is something that we appreciate, that we love, and that we celebrate the awakening process. We celebrate the dark nights of the soul. We celebrate the lows and the failures. Like, yes, I failed. Okay, all right. I'm going to get some good integration out of this. Those kinds of things. It's a shift in perspective that can occur. And Spirit says that does occur eventually. It's the thing, the healing always wins. Always wins. My healer said that to me. She's like, you can fight it, you can try. But the healing always wins. And in that sense, we always awaken. In this life, in another, the awakening will always win. So that being said, card flipped. Delight. I do feel like we need another one. We need one more. We need synergy. How appropriate. So this delight energy, I was just sitting here just looking at it. It is amazing. Look at that. That looks so beautiful. And it says, the frequency of delight supports our capacity to create and experience feelings of intense joy and happiness. The more delight we feel, the more delight we evoke in others. And I don't know if you can hear it, but my neighbors started a party, or they're not partying, but that's what it sounds like. They're playing football outside in the yard at 9 p.m. at night, and they're having fun doing that, right? And I feel like it comes into this energy that it's very much about kind of going off the beaten path. It's not something you usually do at 9 p.m. at night, but they're doing it and they're having fun. And it's about how the awakening process allows us to find delight outside of the beaten path. There's something about the traditional ways in which we delight, and especially delight is talking about life, a celebration of life. And being able to extract a lot of joy and a lot of soul fulfilling, spiritual fulfilling, soul fulfilling, personally fulfilling experiences out of life. And how there's something about this system that we're living in, especially since we're talking about depression, there's something about the system that doesn't allow us, or doesn't teach us, and doesn't help us to have those kinds of truly delightful experiences. So delightful, full of light. They especially feed the light within us. It is so difficult, it is so rare to find music within the mainstream space, right? It exists, but to find music, movies, content, even tarot readers, if you think about that, how wild that is. But to find things that really feed the light within, it is very, very rare. And in this modern society especially, and talking about materialistic again, there is this focus on things and owning and purchasing and consuming and how to satisfy those needs and those feelings of lack and those feelings of hurt and wounding and dysfunction, to engage with those feelings, those experiences, those realizations in a way where we are materializing them. We are making it about things. We're making it about the house we live in, the person that we're with or not with. We're making it about what we have or don't have. We're making it about things outside of ourselves, as opposed to finding things that can really truly fulfill us, like answering the question, right? So if there's from within the soul saying, I want something, I need something, and then there's a sense of lack or a sense, for example, of depression, then it's not necessarily about taking a pill, and it's not necessarily about buying something or meeting someone. Then it can really be as simple as going in and looking into the heart and saying, what are my values? What is important to me? What matters to me? And then putting more energy into that. And it's something that can be fulfilled intrinsically. It could be taking an hour to ourselves every single day. It could be engaging with loved ones, but from a place of having that deep level of connection and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to be about things, but again, it's not so much about the way in which it is answered. It's more the knowing that we need to answer the actual question, the actual calling from within, as opposed to try to handle things on the surface and outside of ourselves. And of course, if there is a depression, right, we can take the pills, because again, there's the body. We have to take care of the body. We can't go see the doctor. We can go do these things. It's a matter of saying, and that's the foundation of energy healing, especially in this modern era, is saying that we don't stop doing the earthly things. We exercise, we eat well, we take care of ourselves, we sleep, right? That already takes care of so much of our health. But we don't forsake the energetic levels. We don't forsake the soul. We don't forsake the spirit, because that is really the root cause. From an energy medicine perspective, that is the root cause of the illnesses and the dysfunctions and everything that we experience in our life as going awry. So of course there's the personality level at that there too, right? So we can have certain lacks or certain things that happen psychologically, mentally, and so on. But again, we usually have ways of dealing with that, and we are more knowledgeable about that. Spirit is talking about something that's almost like a black hole of how do we take care of the soul? How do we take care of the spiritual? And knowing that when that is not done, it is going to be like a black hole. It is gnawing, it is there. It does not go away. And the awakening process in that essence is so much about teaching us how to take care of ourselves. And that's the next card. Synergy. And synergy says, the frequency of synergy supports our allowance and acceptance of not so obvious, never seen before combinations and unions that result in new ways of functioning, working, thinking, relating, loving, and being. It reminds us to embrace the unfamiliar so that new yet exciting co-creations can give birth to a new reality. And I feel like that's said it all. Synergy. And synergy is when things work together and create a bigger effect than they would if you took them individually, than the sum of their parts, or that you would necessarily expect. And this is spirit saying that when we are taking in the spirit and we're taking in the soul into consideration and we're answering them and we're taking care of them and we're nurturing that within ourselves, which is essentially the same as nurturing the higher aspects of ourselves, our higher self. When we nurture that within ourselves, then what we get out of it is synergy. We get some not so obvious, never seen before. We get very, very creative, right? And combinations and unions. But there's also a tremendous amount of change. We need to live differently. We need to live differently. When we're awakened, we have to live differently. We can't go back to doing the same things because we're not the same. We're not operating from the same space of consciousness. So again, that shift inside that has to lead to different ways of functioning, of working, of thinking, of relating, of loving and being. We awaken ourselves, but we also awaken relationship. We awaken work life. We awaken work-life balance. We awaken money and how we spend it. We awaken all of the aspects of human life that follow in ways that also create a tremendous amount of synergy. And spirit is saying that if you think that human society is stuck, I would, you might, but we can all see that we have some dire problems at this time. Well, spirit is saying that the solution to that, to a large extent, comes from tapping into this well of creative energy that comes from looking at the world and seeing that, you know, that disconnect from nature, that's disconnect from our spiritual nature. This violence, it's disconnect from us. It's being violent towards ourselves, which is, we are being violent to ourselves when we're not taking into consideration all that we are and taking care of all that we are, and so on and so forth. It feels violent to the spirit, right? And so there's so much that can come. It's like a treasure trove. And for you in your life, you're really going to come into a space where the more you awaken and you're integrating and coming into yourself, the more it's going to come. Really, we're in an energy, we're in a time right now where it's going to start burgeoning outside of you. It's going to blossom. It's going to manifest externally. There's going to be an answer. If you choose to answer yourself in your soul, in your spirit, to take care of those higher aspects of yourself, then the universe will answer you in turn by manifesting different spaces, places, connections, experiences, even products, ways of going. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. All of it can be awakened into a higher state of itself in response to the greater awakening that you are realizing in you, that you are embodying as you. So love, that was the reading. That was so exciting. I rewatched these readings to put the little boxes, right? And I'm really excited to rewatch this one because it was so profound. And I had a lot of food for thought, and I hope that you did too. If you would want to tell me about it, I would love to hear it. And then otherwise, in general, I'm sending you lots of love, wishing you all the best. May you be blessed always and in always. And I'll be seeing you around the channel. Happy awakening. Bye.